Hello, welcome to my Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse review. So I got to see this film this week and it's been a couple days since I've seen it. And my opinion is still the same from straight away when I saw it. If anything, it's grown on me because of it's sank in, I've thought about it more, I've discussed it with the person I went with, and honestly, it's just kind of made me love it even more. So I tweeted a couple hours after seeing the film that I thought it was incredible tonight, visually stunning, motivational, comedic, and a must-see film. So first impressions, I went into it quite excited, and I couldn't really, I don't know, just seeing the promo posters and the trailers, it all looked really good. I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was going to be a bit different because it was animated rather than a real life action one like most Marvel films. So as it started, the first thing I noticed was it was relating back to its roots of being a comic book originally or graphic novel. So I felt this was quite a clever thing to do because the real life action films, they can't do that as easily. They can try to do it with CGI and things, but with the animation, it's not a million miles away from the drawings of the original comic books. I felt that was a very clever and unique thing to do because it wasn't something that the real life films could have done, so it sets it apart from the rest. So when you see the posters, you can see pretty much all the main characters, I think, on the main big ones. You can see who's in it, all the different Spider-Mans and that sort of thing. Spider-Man? Spider-Men? I don't know. Is it called Spider-Man? Not entirely sure. Spider-People. There you go. I think they've mentioned it as Spider-People in the film anyway. I was quite excited to see all these different ones and how were they going to interact, how do they all fit in together. And honestly, I thought the relationships between the characters were brilliant. I thought there was genuinely a character for everyone because, as you've probably seen on the posters, there's Spider-Gwen and she's female. So with Wonder Woman coming out last year from DC, you have Supergirl from DC. Who do we have from Marvel? We have Black Widow, Scarlet Witch and those sort of people, but they've never had a main film. So I thought that was quite important. And having watched her, I genuinely think she could go on to have her own spin-off film. Because with Doctor Who, for example, they have the first female Doctor, and as I said before, the DC characters. So I think that could be a good way of introducing Spider-Gwen into her own universe almost, which I'm hoping for, because I really did like the way they did her character. And with the animations, I genuinely thought the voices matched the faces, if that makes sense. Visuals, I have to admit, as I said about the comic book bits, stunning. And overall, I think all of it was quite, not even easy on the eye, it was pretty stunning, to be honest. I thought it was really good. So that leads me into the structure of the storyline, which I thought was pretty clear with your beginning, middle and end, which is important because this film is probably going to be watched by young and old, so you can probably bring new fans in because it had a lot of flashbacks, but they were clever flashbacks. They weren't flashbacks that trailed off onto a different storyline or anything like that. They all merged into the overall story that we were seeing in this film. And I thought that was important because it kind of opened up the film to be viewed by more audiences rather than just hardcore Marvel fans or just comic book fans in general that maybe know about this storyline. So I thought that was really clever because I think it's going to introduce so many people. Spider-Gwen probably going to introduce young girls into the fandom and everything, which is really important these days because it's bringing everyone together to love something. One thing that stood out to me a lot was the comedic aspects of the film. There was a lot of them throughout, but it wasn't, you couldn't say, I wouldn't say overall the film was a comedy, but it had comedic aspects. There was little jokes that could be appreciated by both young and old. Possibly some of them might be lost on younger viewers, but most of them I think could have been recognised for all of them, and I don't actually think I can think of any that wouldn't be appropriate for the younger audience. So that I thought was brilliant, because it was just genuine laughter. Like, you could hear people laughing in the cinema. They were genuinely really good jokes. So whoever wrote the comedic bits, like, well done. Another point that my friend that I went with pointed out, he said that the romance storyline didn't overtake. So a lot of Marvel films, you have your romance. You have the Hulk and Natasha, I believe it is. I don't want to get this wrong. I think it's Hulk and Natasha, where she's the one that calms him down and brings him back to being Banner. You've got Iron Man. There's a very strong romance storyline throughout all of those films. Captain America, you have Peggy Carter. She's quite important in his films. But this film, like, it was there in a sense of characters. A few of them had the romance element, but I wouldn't say it took over at all, in my opinion. I would say that maybe you could have not noticed it, because that's my opinion. My friend said he can kind of see where I'm coming from, that you may not notice the romance, but at the same time there's points that are clearly, this is part of the romance storyline rather than friendship. But in my opinion, for a younger audience, you could probably see it as friendship. So I think that's really good, because it's not too much of dragging the storyline off to be a romantic film, because you have a lot of romantic films and this isn't a romance. This is an action film. Almost a film of self-discovery, I would say, in a sense. And that leads me into the motivational part of it. The moral of the story overall is really motivational. And I'm not going to say why, because it's quite clear when you see the film. But I think the motivation honestly applies to young and old, which I think is really good. As motivational films, they might be targeted at a specific group. So I'd say this film, the motivation was for both young, old, everyone in the middle. It applies to the whole audience, female, male, non-binary, everything. And I think that's really important in a sense, because everyone can relate to it, rather than if you're going with a group of people, 2 people out of your 8 people maybe that have gone to watch it would relate to it. Instead, all of you would relate to it, which I think is really powerful, to be honest, to be able to find a moral that would cover it all. So to round off my review, I would say visually stunning, motivational moral, perfect for all audiences, quite comedic, and quite heartfelt in places. So please, if you're considering going to watch this film, please do. I really recommend it, no matter how old or young you are. I loved it, and so did the person I went to. The whole cinema did, from what I could hear from people walking out. Like, it overall was a brilliant film. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it still does, it had 100% on Rotten Tomatoes at some point, so that's always a good sign. And I overall hope you go and see it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So please subscribe. I am possibly considering doing more film reviews in future, because I love films, so why not? That's be all and end all of it. Why not? Who knows? I don't know. Why not? So let me know if you want that, please. If this was terrible, don't tell me that, but let me down gently. And I will see you for Vlogmas. So Vlogmas will be going up on the 2nd of December. You will get the first day, and so on. So I will see you for basically the whole of the next month. And I hope you enjoy Vlogmas. I hope you're ready for Christmas. And I hope you enjoy Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Goodbye.